In this Maya Basics Essentials video, I'm going to show you how to use the layer palette. We're going to continue using the file that we used in the channel box lesson, except I'm going to go ahead and add a cone. So we have two objects. Now, let's say we only want to work with this object right here. We want to go ahead and turn off the cone. Well, you could hide the cone. That's one way. But then you have to go find all your pieces and unhide them, and it can get kind of tricky. What I like to do is use these display layers. So let me move this channel box a little bit so you can see. First of all, we have to create a display layer. By default, you already have one. So we'll click this icon right here, which is Create New Display Layer. And you can see it puts down this Layer 1. So I'm going to double click, and that's going to bring up the Edit Layer window. And I'll call this Cones. Right now it's set to normal, and I'll leave everything exactly how it is. Just show you how you use it. Now, what you want to do is get this cone onto this layer. And it's very easy to do. You just select the cone, right-click on your layer, and choose Add Selected Objects. Well, that didn't do much. Actually, it did. It's now set inside of this layer. So if I turn off this layer with that V for visibility, you notice how it hides. So if you only wanted to render, let's say this pipe and no cone, you can just turn that off, hit render, and the cone will no longer be there. Now, unlike Photoshop, these layers are not stackable. So they are not being, if you have one layer on top of the other, that won't, you can't change the order of this since these are in 3D. So let's modify this layer. We'll call this pipe. Now hit save. And I'll add this object to the pipe. Great. Now I can turn off the pipe, or I can turn off the cone, whatever I'd like to do. Let me show you what these other boxes do. If you click once, we've now templated this object. That means it's now in a wireframe mode, and we can't select it like we can this pipe. We can't select that. If you click it again, that's a reference mode, which means you still can't click and select it, but you can see that it's shaded. So sometimes that's very helpful, being able to switch back and forth. Click it again and you go back to normal mode. The icon next to it is a color. So let's say we wanted to make the cone, let's say red, so it's easy to see. Now when I go to wireframe, notice that that object is red. This is also very helpful to color coordinate your controls, color coordinate maybe your joints and things like that, so you don't accidentally grab something when you're working. All right, last but not least, how would you take something off of this layer, take it off of it? So to remove the pipe, we would just select the pipe, right-click, and choose Remove Objects. So now when I turn on and off pipe, nothing happens. And I can now add it to my cones by Add Selected Objects. So now when I turn that layer on and off, it affects both of them. I can also right-click and choose Select Objects. And what that'll do is select everything that's in that layer. This is great when you want to do changes to an entire set or group of objects. Notice I'm moving both of these now in my channel box. And the way I selected that, again, was just select objects. I hope you find these very useful. I enjoy using layers and dividing up my work within layers. One thing when I'm working with characters, I always create a layer that says don't touch, and I always put the stuff that I don't want the animators to touch, and then template it or reference it. That way it's out of the way.